Hi, I'm Jesse. I have a lot of books and I'd like to share them with you. And today we're going to be looking at more graphic novels. So we're going to be looking at this box up here. It has a lot of interesting books that are some of my favorites. And the main reason I wanted to show it is to talk about this book, Home Time. And this is a really strange, bizarre book that I'm really glad I found. It's by an Australian artist, writer from Perth, so Perthian, a Perthist author. And it kind of channels the Aboriginal concept of dream time. It follows these 6 kids that get lost in this dream fantasy world and have to try to find their way out. And what's interesting is that each chapter follows the point of view of one of the children, and each chapter has a different style of art. So it might be a very linear comic book style, it might be a more painted watercolor style, and here's a darker sort of colored pencil-y style, and then there's even a pixelated style that's really cool and interesting with like a video game pixel art. So this is a really interesting book, and it ends really well. All the themes come together, which is nice. It's 2 volumes, and had to wait a long time for the second volume, but it's the work of this one person, and it's incredible, like a life's work. And I can't wait to see more of what they do. But these are highly recommended. Very cool books. This book, okay, don't fall on me. All right. This book, Young Francis. This is the opposite in terms of like, it's a slice of life book, not fantasy at all. Very straightforward, realistic look of a woman who works in an office, sort of having an existential crisis. It does have an element of satire, a little bit extreme, exaggerated things that happen, but it's very sad and poignant and interesting. And they actually, it was originally separate comic issues, and this is it collected, and they actually published one of my letters in the letter column of one of the issues, which is always cool. And I say always, but that's really maybe the only time that's happened in my life, I think. This book, one of the only superhero things in this box, is Superman's Secret Identity by Kurt Busiek and Stuart Immonen. And this is a book that I loan out to people when they ask for a superhero book or they're interested in superheroes. It's one of my favorite superhero books, and that's saying a lot. What's interesting is it's not about Superman. It's about someone in our world, in the real world, named Clark Kent, and he gets superpowers just like Superman. So he's not existing in the DC universe with Batman and all these other characters. He's existing in our world, and it's more realistic in terms of what would happen if only one person got superpowers. The art is incredible. Again, realistic is one of the ways to describe it, with these deep shadows. It looks like photos. It has all these well-rounded, well-done characters. It has realistic things happening. First of all, the poor guy grew up being named Clark Kent, and everyone makes fun of him because that's Superman's secret identity, and then he somehow gets superpowers, and it's amazing. So it's this beautiful book, and I lend it out quite a bit. I actually have 2 copies of it because I lent it out once and didn't get it back. Bought another copy and then got it back. What else do we have here? So at the top here, this is going to be really hard to get down. This is brand new, a book called Skyward. And it takes place in the future in a time when the Earth's gravity has been lessened, and a lot of people flew off into space and died. There's no way to say that nicely. But that's the premise of the book. And the remaining people have to sort of navigate indoors and by following like sort of zip lines from building to building and learn how to sort of float like you're swimming, because the gravity is not zero, it's just been lessened. And the artwork's really cool. It follows this girl trying to find her dad and trying to find out what happened to the world. It has giant insects in it, because without gravity, insects and animals have grown giant-sized, which reminds me of H.G. Wells' Food of the Gods, which was the first novel where that happened. And I just got this collected edition, which is really heavy and really sharp, really nicely done. In each issue, they had sketches from the artist, pen and ink sketches that are really nice. And they're collected here as well. And then, let's see here, we've got Woodie Guthrie. This is a biography of Woodie Guthrie and the Dust Bowl. And it's such an interesting period in American history that they don't really tell us that much about, or at least I didn't know that much about it until I read this. The artwork is stylized to look kind of like woodcuts. Woodcutting was sort of a popular illustration style at the time. This is the 1920s, 1930s. And the whole thing is in this brownish ashen color, light dust. And it tells the period of this extreme poverty in America. And Woodie Guthrie was sort of a songwriter, balladeer, who traveled the country and wrote songs about the ordinary people and their trials and tribulations. And this is his story. And then the last thing I want to show here is Black Hammer. So this series right here by Dark Horse, it's a whole series. There's even more books than this. And it's really interesting. It's by Jeff Lemire, who I love, who I've read all of his work. He's very prolific. And it's a superhero story, but with a twist. It follows these 6 superheroes who are kind of pastiches or spoofs of Justice League characters, but they're trapped on a farm. They have superpowers and they're trapped on a farm in an ordinary town and they can't escape. And they don't know how they got there. You don't know if it's in an alternate dimension or in their minds or in another universe or time travel, or someone trapped them there like a villain. And it's them trying to escape, and at the same time it flashes back and tells their story and how they were as adventurers. And they've been there the equivalent of decades and are really getting on each other's nerves. And so it's a lot of interpersonal drama between them and how they keep surviving together. So I definitely recommend this. You can see here it's won Eisner's, which are the comic book awards, and it's an excellent book. So that's all we have today. Like and subscribe if you want to find out what happens next in another box. And I appreciate you watching, and have a good one.